Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. But watch yourselves, or you also may be tempted. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. If anyone thinks that they are something when they are not, they deceive themselves. Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone, without comparing themselves to someone else. For each one should carry their own load. Nevertheless, the one who receives instruction in the Word should share all good things with their instructor. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit shall reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest. If we do not give up, therefore as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers. See what large letters I use as I write to you with my own hand. Those who want to impress people by means of the flesh are trying to compel you to be circumcised. The only reason they do this is to avoid being persecuted for the cross of Christ. Not even those who are circumcised keep the law, yet they want you to be circumcised that they may boast about your circumcision in the flesh. May I never boast except in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, through which the world has been crucified to me, and I to the world. Neither circumcision nor non-circumcision means anything. What counts is the new creation, peace and mercy to all who follow this rule, to the Israel of God. From now on, let no one cause me trouble, for I bear on my body the marks of Jesus. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you in spirit, brothers and sisters. Amen. That was Galatians 6. It is July 2nd, 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, and this is the Watchman News. I get that messed up I don't know how many times. Anyway, before we get started here, I'm going to give a little shout out that I was asked for. Hello, Sierra. Your wonderful and sweet, beautiful mother asked me to give you a shout out. Oh yeah, Sierra's single, by the way. In all seriousness, though, Sierra, I do have a request. Pay attention to what I discussed tonight. It's very important. Probably the most important somebody your age, it's the most important thing somebody your age could know right now. Tonight's topic's going to be on deception. And I'll start out with a little bit of a personal story from back in about 2003, I guess, about deception. And I'll title the story 143. So I was with a woman, and we had been together for, close to about 3 years, I guess. And one day, I noticed some letters. And I knew she was having communication with a man down in Florida. I was in Illinois, and it piqued my interest. And so upon reading the first letter, it caused me to read a second letter, and a third letter, and a fourth letter. I don't remember how many there were in all, but every single letter I got down to the very end, and it said 143. Well, something about myself that not a lot of you would know is God has granted me the ability to have unusually high scores in things like comprehension. Naturally, I'm a problem solver. I can solve just about any problem you can throw my way. You give me a few minutes, I'll think about it, and I can come up with a solution. It's just as much of a gift sometimes as it was a curse. So anyway, I approached this woman with these letters, and I asked her about them. I knew something in my gut wasn't right, and I had felt it for quite some time, and things were starting to add up pretty quick. And boy, I got one excuse after another about those letters, about what they were, what they meant. And I knew in my gut. And you have to understand, man or woman, on this planet can deceive you. Boy, I got a lot of excuses and a lot of explanations about what that 143 meant. And the entire time she denied it. The entire time. Until the very bitter end, when she finally admitted it. 143. Well, it's kind of a simple code. You count the letters and the words. I love you. I figured that out. And like I say, it was denied. It was denied for many, many months. And I just wanted to tell that story because no matter how close some people are in our lives, and we'll be discussing something that's not close or that close in our lives, but no matter how close something or how far away something can be, you have to be careful. You have to use discernment, and you have to trust God first. Because if you don't, even though it's close, could try to deceive you. And let me tell you what, those that aren't so close surely are. So as we go on, tonight we're going to start out talking about the NDAA, the 2012 NDAA in particular. And that's the Defense Authorization Act. In the description of this show, I have gotten 3 links down there. Those 3 links are, one of them's to the NDAA. One of the links is to the Internment and Resettlement Operations document. And the other one is to something called Agenda 21. Before everybody starts telling me to go get out the tinfoil and start making me a hat, pay close attention to where those web links are going to. Those web links aren't going to a website that I own. They aren't going to a website that some right-wing conspiracy theorist owns or anything like that. Those websites are linking you directly to the government websites and the institutions for such documents. So before anybody starts telling me to go get that tinfoil out, you might want to reconsider. You might want to look at where those websites or where those links are coming from. They're all in PDF format. I made sure I found the PDF versions. I urge you to save them to your computer. Save them. It's very important. Even if it's not important today, it will be important another day. In fact, it's really important today. But there's going to be a big change coming, and a lot of that stuff, a lot of that information is going to disappear. And so it's important that as many people as we can get download a copy of it and keep a copy of it. And it's even more important that you read it. Reading comes to something else. There's going to be something I read tonight. It's going to be long. It's going to be boring. It's probably going to bore you to absolute death. But please, just follow me on this. It's boring for me to read it. It's boring. I know it's going to be boring to hear it. Everyone, I've read every single letter and everything from the Health Care Act to the NDAA to the Patriot Act. I've read every single letter, every single word, every single paragraph of all those documents. And yeah, I do sometimes live a quite lame and boring life. But I'm not one that likes to stick my head in the sand too much. I like to know what's going on. And I just ask that you bear with me through a boring hour and be a little bit more enlightened. I know a lot of people, talk about how much they love their family and how they would do anything for their family. So let's see. Spend an hour with me. Spend an hour with me and pay attention to what I see or say, and then maybe check a little bit deeper into what I'm going to say, because it is the most important thing you could do for you and your family. The absolute most important thing. These times are upon us now, right now. And again, this isn't information that I'm getting from somewhere crazy or somewhere whacked, or this isn't hearsay. I linked you right to the government websites to where you can read this information for yourself. Gotta love the phone. All right. So, I'm going to start out with, since corporate fascist puppets, well, that's a little bit more opinion. Let's stick without the opinion. What is the legal definition of a terrorist? Who can make you disappear by calling you one? To answer the first question, we searched online version of the United States Code, the codification of the general and permanent laws of the United States. For a definition of terrorist, and to our amazement, we didn't find one. Over 400 references to terrorist in USC, but yes. But a specific definition? No. What we did find is this. Section 8, 1182, A3B, yeah, that bores me. Terrorist activity, defined as used in this chapter, the term terrorist activity means any activity which is unlawful under the laws of the place where it is committed, or which, if it had been committed in the United States, would be unlawful under the laws of the United States or any state, and which involves any of the following: the hijacking or sabotage of a conveyance, including aircraft, vessel, or vehicle, the seizing or detaining and threatening to kill, injure, or continue to detain another individual in order to compel a third person, including a governmental organization, to do or abstain from any act as explicit or implicit condition for the release of individuals seized or detained. 3. A violent attack upon any internationally protected person or upon the liberty of such a person. 4. An assassination. 5. The use of any biological weapon or dangerous device other than for mere personal monetary gain, which intent to endanger directly or indirectly the safety of one or more individuals to cause a substantial damage to property. A threat, attempt, or conspiracy to do any of the foregoing activity means an individual capacity or as a member of an organization is to commit or incite to commit under circumstances indicating an intention to cause death or serious bodily injury, a terrorist activity, to prepare or plan a terrorist activity, to gather information on potential targets or for terrorist activity, solicit funds or other things of value, a terrorist activity, a terrorist organization described in clause, or a terrorist organization described in clause, and it's giving clause numbers, unless a solicitor can demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he did not know and should not reasonably have known that the organization was a terrorist organization. Okay, I'll stop there. For one, that's extremely boring for me as well, but we have to hold this very loosely in definition, because it's what they're starting to do and who they're starting to say are these terrorist organizations. Now, it's becoming a very wide and very broad definition of who this is. Again, you can, this is part of the 2012 NDAA. I gave you the link to it. You can read it all. It's a very, very long, boring document. All it's supposed to do is allocate funds to different, like government, like to our military, different, government organizations that are involved in our defense and our so-called security and all that good stuff. So that's all this document is supposed to do. However, like a lot of other documents that get passed through government, they act like it's supposed to be, extremely important, and we have to get this passed. We got to pass it. We got to pass it, and then they attach all kinds of things to it. It's kind of a scary document. But what I want to do is I want to step forward just a little bit here, and I did find a list of what is considered potential terrorists, and there are several lists out there. To give you an idea, there are 72 types of Americans just on this list alone, and I've seen lists that list over 100 types of American. What's important is that you pay attention to what's on this list, and this is real. This is very, very real. I can't express to you just how much we are being watched, just how much we are being monitored in this country. It's absolutely petrifying. And a lot of people will say that, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. Well, you know what? There was a guy that just a couple years ago wound up doing 30 days in jail. I can't remember the state. Did 30 days in jail because he was collecting rainwater on his property. Okay? So before you jump and say, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, maybe you need to know what the definition of wrong is that they have on you. Because in this, it's man's law that makes a difference, not your opinion. Okay? And if you look, there are so many laws that are being put into place, you know, and a lot of, okay, it's illegal to have gardens in a lot of places now. And a lot of people are like, well, I've got a garden and they didn't come arrest me. Well, maybe not. But they're putting these laws into place so that at the right time, they can just take that opportunity to say, well, you did this or you did that. And it's going on. It really is going on. You need to pay attention to your local, your state, and your federal laws because they're all changing drastically. And one of the things they're changing to, I'll reference the Agenda 21. If you'll go and you'll read that, what you'll see is you'll see the model and the structure of what they want to get to. That is their goal. That is their intention, is what you see on Agenda 21. There are several names for it now that have popped up here recently that our government has put on it. When people start to catch on to things, our government likes to change the name of them. You won't hear the government talk about global warming anymore. You'll hear them talk about climate change. Global warming, climate, global warming is not true. Climate change is. It's a real thing, and we didn't cause it, and we can't stop it. It's a natural cycle. It's just a fact of life. They're just trying to profit on it, and they're trying to use it to seize control. But let me get onto this list. This is just 72 types of Americans that could qualify for those people that could be detention. I mean, just no trial, no lawyer, no nothing. They just lock you up. They don't even tell anybody where you're at. And it's really that crazy, folks. Everything that I'm talking to you is 100% real. I promise you. I promise to God that everything I'm talking about is real. So pay attention and see if you fit any one of these 72 categories. I know I sure fit several of them. Those that talk about individual liberties. Those that advocate for states' rights. Those that want to make the world a better place. The colonists who sought to free themselves from British rule. Those that are interested in defeating the communists. Those that believe that the interests of one's own nation are separate from the interests of other nations or the common interest of all nations. That sounds like something awful New World Order-ish. Anything that holds up a political ideology that considers the state to be an unnecessary, harmful, or undesirable. Anyone that possesses an intolerance toward other religions. That's an interesting one. Remember that. Number 8, anyone that possesses an intolerance toward other religions. We'll come back to that when I say the number 72 person, okay? Those that take action to fight against the exploitation of the environment and or animals. Anti-gay, anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, the Patriot Movement, opposition to equal rights for gays and lesbians, members of the Family Research Council, members of the American Family Association, those that believe that Mexico, Canada, and the United States are secretly planning to merge into a European Union-like entity that will be known as the North American Union. Look it up, folks. Look it up. That's not conspiracy theory stuff. Members of the American Border Patrol, American Patrol. Members of the Federation, and that should be really interesting in this lately news, huh? With all the stuff with the borders. But members of the Federation for American Immigrants Reform. Members of the Tennessee Freedom Coalition. Members of the Christian Action Network. Anyone that is opposed to the New World Order. Anyone that is engaged in conspiracy theorizing. Anyone that is opposed to Agenda 21. Oh, there we go. Anyone that is concerned about FEMA camps. Yeah, that's an interesting topic too. There's not enough tinfoil, folks. At some point, there's just not enough tinfoil, and you have to accept it as truth, okay? Anyone that fears impending gun control or weapons confiscations. That's an interesting one. The militia movement. The sovereign citizen movement. Those that don't think they should have to pay taxes. Anyone that complains about bias. Anyone that believes in government conspiracies to the point of paranoia. How could you not be paranoid? Anyone that is frustrated with mainstream ideologies. Anyone that visits extremist websites or blogs. Anyone that establishes a website or blog to display extremist views. Hey, me doing this, what I'm doing right now, is considered, in their standards, by an extremist view. It really is. I'm not. That's no joke at all. Anyone that attends rallies or extremist causes, anyone that exhibits extreme religious intolerance, anyone that is personally connected with a grievance. Yeah, anyone that is personally connected with a grievance. Okay, so if there's anything you're upset about, guess what? You're a terrorist. Crazy, huh? Anyone that suddenly acquires weapons. Well, you got to buy your first gun sometime. Anyone that organizes protests inspired by extremist ideology, militia or unorganized militia, general right-wing extremists, citizens that have bumper stickers that are patriotic or anti-UN. That's United Nations, by the way. Those that refer to an army of God. Those that are fiercely nationalistic as opposed to universal and international in orientation. Those that are anti-global. Those that are suspicious of centralized federal authority. Those that are reverent of individual liberty. Those that believe in conspiracy theories. A lot of these seem kind of like repetitive, but those that have a belief that is one's personal or national way of life is under attack. Those that possess a belief in the need to be prepared for an attack, either by participating in paramilitary preparations and training or survivalism. Wow. So see, all preppers and survivalists are terrorists. That's just the way it is, even if you're preparing against a thunderstorm. So those that would impose strict religious tenets or laws on society, those that would insert a religion into the political sphere, anyone that would seek to politicize religion, those that have supported political movements for autonomy, anyone that is anti-abortion, anyone that is anti-Catholic, anyone that is anti-nuclear, right-wing extremists, returning veterans. Whoa, that's a touchy one, huh? Those concerned about illegal immigration, those that believe in the right to bear arms, anyone that is engaged in the ammunition stockpiling, anyone that exhibits fear of communist regimes, anti-abortion activists, those that are against illegal immigration, those that talk about the New World Order in a derogatory manner. Oh, I'm in trouble. Those that have a negative view of the United Nations, those that are opposed to the collection of federal income taxes, those that supported former presidential candidates Ron Paul, Chuck Baldwin, and Bob Barr, those that display the Gadsden flag, that's the "Don't Tread on Me" flag with the snake, those that believe in the end times prophecies, and number 2, the one I wanted you to pay attention to, Christians. That's right. That's right. Simply being Christian can get you labeled a terrorist. And there's other things too, you know, that there were direct definitions, like if you look nervous, if you're missing any fingers or toes. There was a list that was rather interesting. And it was, like I say, it was more of a direct list of what they seen as potential terrorists. Anyway, those are some of the things that are covered under that when we refer to the indefinite detention and stuff like that, and the things that are included in the NDAA. It's scary. It's scary times. They pretty much ruled everybody in this country as a potential terrorist. In fact, I don't see anything that could rule anybody out, or any way that anybody could be out unless you're dead. And I'm pretty sure they probably figured that one out too. There's a reason for this. If you don't believe in FEMA camps, I highly suggest that you research this stuff. I really do. There's plenty of pictures and video and information. In fact, you can find actual addresses on the internet of where these camps are. You could go visit one. Go visit one. Walk up to the gate and shake the gate doors and see if anybody comes out to pay you a visit. If you don't believe in FEMA camps, then go online. Find one of these non-existent FEMA camps that has their address listed. Drive up to the gates. Go up to the gate and start shaking the gate. If you don't, I dare you. If you don't believe they exist, do that. Do that and report back to me. Let me know how that turned out for you. Okay? Because they're all over. They really are, and they exist. And while you're there and while you're looking at it, I want you to pay attention to the barbed wire at the top of the fence. I want you to report back which direction that barbed wire is turned, because from every bit of my experience that I've seen or known about, it's spaced in. You know, when FEMA camps were first asked about, they asked about the fences and the barbed wire. Oh, that's just to keep people out. Well, you put the turnbuckles facing inward when you want to keep people in, not out. Pay close attention to which way them turnbuckles are facing. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. When I talk about these FEMA camps, that's where the oh wow, that document is gone. That would happen to be, let me look it up here. I want to get the title of it correct. I apologize. That would and I do this to myself every time. Gotta leave it to me. Yeah, that would be where the information is. The Internet Resettlement, that's all they call it there. Let me pull up that website so I get the actual name of it. I hate when I do that. Okay, the name of the document is the Internment and Resettlement Operations. It was written, or at least it was put out in February of 2010. So, we're not talking about something that is just massively old here. I mean, this is new. It's 326 pages long. Okay, so I hope you got a lot of ink. I would highly recommend that you save a digital copy of this, and by all means, please print out those 326 pages and put it somewhere. Put it somewhere. Put it in, I don't know where to put it, to be honest. I was going to say a safe, but you know what? When a very bad day comes to light, they're probably going to be taking anything and everything inside of safes that they find. But I would just store it in a good place, a good secure location. I would do that with all of these documents, by the way. But this is very interesting. It goes through, and on the government websites, by the way, several of us have sat there and watched them solicit people to work at these. So now that one is info.publicintelligence.net is where that PDF is linked to. I also know that you can find a copy on the army.mil site as well. They tried hiding it for a short time, but it was already, too many copies already got out, and then they were just saying, oh, well, and all their response was, well, that wasn't intended for public viewing. They didn't deny the document. They didn't say anything about it being untrue or anything like that. They just said that we weren't supposed to see it. That's all they said. But I mean, if you read it, and I know 326 pages is a lot to ask people to read, but if you really care, if you really do care about your children, you'll read it. You'll pay attention to it. The 3 documents that I gave you in the links are literally the most important things you could know on this planet right now. When it comes to the NDAA, when it comes to the UN Agenda 21, they really are the most important things you could know. UN Agenda 21 outlines it outlines a new world. It basically outlines what you've heard called before as the New World Order. And that's what our government is working towards now, today. That's why you see all these odd laws going into place about gardening, or the laws going in about catching your rainwater and all that. If you pay close attention, you will see it. It's just like a timeline. If you read the Agenda 21 documents, it's absolutely just a timeline of how they're doing this and all this stuff. There was stuff back during the days of Nazi Germany, and a lot of that stuff people could find out about it. They didn't really hide a lot of it, but everybody was complacent, and the word was complacent, and that's what we have today here in the United States. We have too much complacency, and people just aren't listening. Who knows how many people will watch this video and they'll walk away and they don't listen. My hope is just to get the attention of one of you. If I can get the attention of one of you, then maybe you can get the attention of somebody else. Don't just take this information and run. Take this information and spread it. I'm giving you these 3 documents are probably the 3 most important things, as I said, and they're probably the 3 most powerful things right now that you could use. Because the only way this is going to stop is if we stop it. And let me tell you, everybody, I don't know if we can stop it. I don't know. At this point, it's gotten so far down the line, I don't know if there's anything we could do. At this point, if somebody made an honest, earnest attempt to stop it, you probably can be considered a terrorist, and you'd probably be indefinitely detained. I mean, that's just the way it is. I don't have the answers. The only thing I can say is trust in God and pray hard, and do what He tells you to do. It's funny. I listened the other night to another Christian radio news show, the Hagman and Hagman Report, and I believe if you want to check it out, this would be Mondays, which would have been hang on here. That would have been the 30th. Okay, yeah, duh. That would have been the 30th. So if you'd like to check it out, check out the June 30th episode of Hagman and Hagman. I got a good laugh at it. They made a lot of good points and stuff, but they were discussing some of this. Hagman and Hagman Report's a father and son show, and once in a while you'll get an extra gift of the father and the son getting into it. The son is very he's a peaceful-minded person, to where the father's been around the block a little bit, and he's ready to go if necessary. And that's what I'm saying about do what God asks you to do. I fully believe they're both firm believers in God and firm followers of God. And I think that God's just telling them to take 2 different paths with all this. I mean, that in the end, that's all I can tell you to do is take it to God, find out from God what He wants you to do. And things could change. There's a lot of people that, you'll hear them, they'll say, well, I'll do this, or out of my cold dead hands. There's a lot of people that say things like that, but when the time comes and when the moment's at hand, they go a different direction with it. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I just ask you to read these documents, because they're the most important things you could read. If you'd ask me which one's the most important of them all, I really can't tell you. I could say you could probably just accept what I've said about, the indefinite detention and all that. I mean, there's a lot of news that's come out since then about like how they can drone strike American citizens on U.S. soil and all that. All that's true stuff. That's not just crazy conspiracy theory stuff. It's for real. Those are executive orders and different stuff that have been put into effect, and they're now law. So I would say you could cut down, though, to the 2 documents, to the Agenda 21 and the Internment and Resettlement Operations. I think you could drop down to those 2 documents and know enough to scare you, not enough to do anything about it. So you might ask, well, then what do we do? If I could compel you to read these or even skim through them. Well, I've already said number 1, go to God. Go to God and pray, ask Him. But something that you'll hear me say over and over and over is store back food, have a way to filter water. Make sure you have enough things on hand like clothes, and make sure you have a medical kit. All kinds of little things like that. I mean, it makes a world of difference. It really does. There are so many things. And if somebody was to start out today and say, well, I'm going to start preparing. I'm going to be one of these preppers, because maybe that's not such a bad idea. I'm not going to discourage you one bit. What I will say is you better get moving. You better get moving fast. And do something else for you and your loved ones. Be quiet about it. Don't tell a lot of people. Don't go and on YouTube and start a channel and start showing everybody all your preps. Don't go on Facebook and be very, very humble and be very, very quiet. Um, you just don't want people to know what you're doing. And I will say this, make sure you have a bug out bag. Make sure you have a bug out bag. Because the way I see it, when these times come, I mean, if you look at this stuff, it's so reminiscent of Nazi Germany. It really is. Um, it's pretty much the same thing all over again. The only difference is now they have better medications to put the people on, because see, they medicated the people back then. Now, oh my goodness, the technology is just crazy. We're being tracked, we're being watched everywhere we go, and I'm not crazy, I'm not paranoid. It's a fact. You know, sometimes people kind of need to shut that television off. They need to put that reality TV away, or whatever the heck it is. Any of the entertainment or the sports, and just read. You know, if instead of watching The Walking Dead, if you would pick up the true Walking Dead and read these documents, you would be very, very much enlightened. Um, I You'll hear me repeat a lot of the same things over and over, and this being one of them. It's time people wake up. It's time people understand. You don't do anything good for you or your family if you stick your head in the sand and say, well, that's not true, that's not true. Because it is true. You know, I've had many conversations with good people on Facebook and whatnot about these subjects, and they just don't get it. You know, and at the same time, they'll sit there and post pictures of their kids and show the pride that they have in their children, and it makes me sick. It really does. I can't even see my children, yet I love them enough to pay attention to what's going on in the world, pay attention to what our government's doing, pay attention to what these scientists are doing. But I'm the bad parent, you know. But all of it comes down to responsibility. You know, there's a lot more responsibility in life than going to work to pay bills. A lot more responsibility in life than, you know, keeping others happy. The things I talk about surely don't make people happy. But for those that listen, for those that want to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, they're going to be happy in a different way, but they're going to be happy. You know, I see a lot of times people, you know, I wish this, I wish that. I wished I could get people to pay attention. I wished I could get people to listen. For 3 years, I tried doing that. For 3 long years, I was doing that. And I couldn't get people to do it. Couldn't get them to do it. Oh, those that know me personally, you could go back on my Facebook. And, well, ever since me and my family split apart, I've really chilled it out. But you could go back starting about 6 months ago, and you could go back for 3 years, and you could see all I was saying and trying to get people's attention and trying the very same things I'm talking to you about now. None of this stuff is new, and I didn't just find out about it. You know, it's kind of humorous, and I say it's humorous because what else am I going to do, you know, other than cry at the reality. A while back, several years ago, they put in a new law that said that corporations could be treated as persons. And a lot of people were really missing the mark on what that was about. And I said it right then. I mean, again, I have the gift of comprehension. And what it may take somebody a year to sit there and think about, and we do, and try and figure out, it just pops in my head. I just understand it. I get it. I can put those puzzle pieces together. And the very first thing that popped out of my mouth when I heard about corporations as people was they're bringing back the debtors' prisons. And you wouldn't believe the people that laughed at me, the people that just nah, or the people that asked, what are you talking about? A long time ago, they used to have debtors' prisons. And if you owed a debt, you could go to prison for it. And I'm talking about a debt to pretty much anything or anyone. You know, today, if somebody loans me money and I don't pay them back and they take me to court, it's a civil case. And the only way I'm going to go to jail for that civil case is if the judge finds me guilty and sets up a payment arrangement for me and I don't pay that debt. Then I could be found in contempt of court and eventually thrown in jail for it. But, and yeah, I do, that is kind of using the same thing as a debt, but this is going to open it wide open. You don't hear too many people going to jail for not paying their phone bill. Or you don't know too many people going to jail for not being able to pay their student loans, or their house, or their mortgage loans, or their car loans. Am I starting to make a little bit of sense here? And ever since 2001, they've been pushing people to use credit, use credit, use credit. And a lot of people right now have a bunch of money racked up on credit cards and everything else. And unfortunately, a lot of people are, either out of work or underpaid, or, and they can't pay those debts. They can't make those obligations. And it won't matter. All the 72 things I listed earlier, they won't matter. They'll just get you simply for owing a phone bill, or not being able to pay your student loan, or whatever it is. They will find a reason. But I think it's going to happen much more quickly, and in a much more terrifying manner than this. I really do. There's so many things to go over on this show, so many things to talk to you guys about. I mean, that's why tonight I was going to have a bunch of news stories to go over, and indeed there's a bunch of news to go over. But I thought, well, wait, maybe we need to stop. Maybe we need to slow down. Maybe we need to back up a little bit. And we need to talk about what never made it on the news. And I didn't talk much about these things on the news. And they've been increasingly saying the words New World Order ever since, I don't know if Reagan said it or not. I know the first Bush talked about it quite a bit. And ever increasingly since then, they say it more. But yet at the same time, if we say something like the New World Order, you're supposed to look at us as some kind of right-wing conspiracy theorist, some crazy guy, or somebody that's just paranoid. First of all, I'm not right-wing at all. I'm not even on that bird. I'm not even on that bird. I don't pick sides, especially sides of two evils. I mean, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I given up on all of the political candidates long ago, even ones like Ron Paul or his son Rand Paul, because they've got owners too, and I don't think there's anybody you could put in office that would actually be 100% straight these days. I just don't think that exists. Again, as I was talking earlier, how could we get this stopped? What could we do? I really don't have the answers there. I really don't, because they're ready. They're ready for us. If you don't believe me on that, again, more tinfoil. We're going to run out of that stuff fast. Search Google for all the bullets that have been bought. I think it's over 4 billion now. Bullets that have been bought by the U.S. government. One form or other, the Teachers Association has ammunition and weapons. I mean, go and look at all the armored vehicles and stuff that are being distributed to our different sheriff's departments and local police and whatnot. This is all called staging. They're staging this equipment. They're giving it to these police departments and whatnot. The Department of Agriculture has, AR-15s and all kinds of, ammunition. I guess they're serious when they say mad cow disease, huh? They're staging this stuff is what they're doing. And you see, this would be one heck of a country to overrun, to overtake. Because we do have a lot of people in this country that believe in their rights, that believe in freedom. And generally, those are the same people that are armed with firearms. And this wouldn't be the easiest country to take over on this planet. And it makes it a lot easier if they get everything in place. You know, I think you're going to see, just like the Bible talks about, we're definitely going to have a great awakening. There's no doubt about it. You know, because it takes human beings to hold those weapons. You know, and at some point, a lot of those human beings that are in those positions are going to say, wait, stop, this isn't right. You're asking me to kill my own brother. You're asking me to kill my own father. You know, if he won't do things that even I think are wrong. And you're going to have a lot of that. You're going to have a lot of that. In fact, I think what we're seeing today is just the very start of that great awakening. But unfortunately, due to the medication, due to the technology, due to the tracking ability included in that technology, it's some bad times coming. Again, number one, pray. Go over these documents. I gave you 3 of them. Again, if I'll excuse one of them off the homework, and that's the NDAA. You know, read the Internment and Resettlement Operations. Read the Agenda 21 documents. They will give you a look at the future, and I'm talking near future. You know, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think this summer, at some point this summer or in this fall, is when a lot of this stuff is going to take place, and that's just an educated guess by how they've been moving the equipment. It seems right now, as far as laws and legislation, they're kind of wrapping everything up, trying to seal up any holes in it. And it's not going to matter when this all starts. I mean, but just reading through the chapters, you know, here's the chapters of that internment and resettlement operations. Okay, Chapter 1, let's see, Internment and Resettlement and the Operational Environment. Chapter 2, Internment and Resettlement in Support of the Spectrum of Operations. Chapter 3, Command and Staff Roles and Responsibilities. And by the way, if you read what's within the chapters, it really blows your mind. But I'm just going with the chapters, and let's see what your reaction is. Chapter 4, Capture, Initial Detention and Screening. Chapter 5, Detainee Operations. Chapter 6, Detainee Facilities. Chapter 7, Confinement of U.S. Military Prisoners. That's interesting. Chapter 8, Rehabilitation of U.S. Military Prisoners and Detainees. Rehabilitation, huh? Chapter 9, Parole, Transfer, Release of U.S. Military Prisoners and Detainees. Chapter 10, Resettlement Operations. And then you have all these appendixes, and figures and flow charts and tables, and I mean, they've literally got this down to a science, you know. 300 capacity internment resettlement facility for U.S. military prisoners or non-compliant detainees. 500 person compound, you know. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Just read it. I know it's a lot. It's a lot. Skim through it. 326 pages. Skim through it. You know, don't pay attention to the flow charts or whatever. I don't care. But skim through it. See what it's about. Because if you don't, please do me a favor. If you won't take the time to skim over these documents, please don't go on Facebook and talk about how much you love your children. Please. It's sickening. It is sickening. You have no idea how sickening it is. I love you all, I really do. I really do. But you need to shut off that damn TV. You really do. I spent the last several years of my life without that television, and I'm still alive. I'm okay. Well, I don't know about okay, but I'm still alive. I gave away that television for a reason. Because it was more important to know what was really going on instead of letting somebody else tell me what was going on. And when I noticed the difference between how much people were trying to tell me what's going on or how I was supposed to start feeling about things. And if you don't think that's what's going on, what do you think reality TV is meant to do? I mean, it's got everybody up in everybody's business, does it not? Have you noticed that? You know, I'm 42 years old. I can think about 10 years ago, and yeah, people were in each other's business. Let me go back further, 20 years ago when I was 22, you know. If people said half of the things that they say to people then that they do now, be a lot of people going to jail and a lot of people coming out of the emergency room, I'll tell you that. But then, you know, right after my generation, things changed. And everything became tolerance and intolerance. And it depends on who, right? It's all about control. And it's about who says something is tolerable or something is intolerable. A child can't eat his Pop-Tart to where it looks like an L because, by God, that might be the shape of a gun. And we got to suspend that child because that is evil. That is evil. I wonder how many, I really wonder how many water guns, how many airsoft guns have sold in this past year. Really. And so we're going to demonize guns to the point that if a child points his fingers like it's a gun, he's going to be suspended or expelled from school. If you don't think these things are happening, then you need to wake up. Wake up. Go to Google. Search the things I'm talking about. I mean, a lot of times you might catch it for a couple of minutes if they mention it on your local news. But hell, we can't even get people to watch their local news anymore, even though that's mostly all lies and propaganda. Speaking of propaganda, do you know that there was, I believe there was a bill or a law that was repealed, and there's an executive order that's been put in place. It's, you know, for propaganda. They're allowed legally now to use propaganda in the news, on TV, in the media of any sort, anywhere. They can use propaganda against you. That's legal. Yes, they legalized lying to you. There's not enough tinfoil, folks. I'm telling you. There's a roll of it right up here in this cabinet, and I could get it out, and I probably can't even cover the first one of the things I'm talking about. I can't. So next time, you know, instead of telling somebody they're crazy or, you know, to go put on their tinfoil hat, go get it yourself. Go get it yourself. Do a little bit of reading. Do a little bit of research. And by all means, don't go on Facebook and tell me and the rest of the world how much you love and care about your kids if you won't turn off the TV and if you won't reach out and read about the things that are most important in our lives right now. And let me tell you something. Our natural freedoms are more important than anything. You don't need people telling you what you can eat or what you can drink or what, you know, you don't need that. And you need to stop telling other people what they can and can't. We really do. We're humans. We're not supposed to be running around being the bosses of everybody. They want us to be that way. They want brother to be pitted against brother. They want neighbor to be pitted against neighbor because it's easier for them. You know, united we stand, divided we fall. There's a lot of truth to that. That's been around since the beginning of any type of strategy. You know, any type of strategy. That's been around. And that's all they've done. That's why you turn on the news and you see nothing but controversial topics anymore, and they'll focus on those things. When it comes to things about race, when it comes to things about financial class. I don't know how many stories I've seen in the last couple of years that sit there and talk about people that are on welfare, or, you know, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to incite emotions into people. That's what they're doing. They're pitting people against each other. You know, what was that guy's name? George something or whatever that shot the black kid down in Florida. You know, how hard did they hit that on the news? You know, that over and over and over and over. And there were people out there trying to show you all kinds of other stories that were even more newsworthy than that had to do with the same types of situations, but it wasn't invoking the response that they wanted, the people that have the agenda. So you got to be careful of that. It's about deception. It's about deception. And all I'm trying to say is everybody's being deceived. You really are. Take it from somebody that can look at the big picture, that can put the puzzle together. And if you still can't figure it out, read those documents. Please, read those documents. That's all I got for you tonight. 143 to you all. And hang in there. Go to God with this. Don't take my word for it. Go to God with this. I really, there's not a lot I can say. I do love you all. God loves you all. He wants you to wake up. He wants you to know you are His children. But He can't save you alone. You have to save yourself. And that's more than just walking into a church every Sunday. That's more than just saying that Jesus Christ is my Savior. Because if you understand, it's right in the Scripture, your body is the temple. Your body is the temple. You have to save yourself. You save yourself through His Word. Listen to His Word. Thank you, folks. I pray that you all walk with God and that He looks over you. Be one with your spirit. Good night, folks.